Like, no, I know. My turn?
Yes, you're
The pointing of the fingers? Okay. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another 180 Shift podcast. If you saw last week, Tara was missing, but thankfully this week, she is back. So actually I should probably introduce myself. I'm Ellie. If you guys are new to the channel or watching us, and then we do weekly podcasts here. Make sure to check out all of our social medias at 180 Shift, and of course our website 180shift.org. And without further ado, Tara.
Hello, I'm Tara, and I did not have COVID last week. I feel like I have to say that now, you know? But anyway, yeah, we have a wonderful guest today. Cynthia, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you both so much for having me. I'm Cynthia Kaui, and I am the president of San Diego Young Republicans. And then I'm also the communications director for California Young Republican Federation.
Wonderful.
So cool, yeah.
You've got a long list of accomplishments, which is honestly amazing.
Yeah.
I love that.
Especially as a young woman.
Yes, I know.
It's really cool.
But before we get into it, do we want to do our little ceremony?
Stabby. Okay.
Stabbing? Oh. Here.
That's a
Let me
science
see.
trick. Okay.
Okay. Failed attempt, but I got it on the third one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Boba.
Yeah, pretty good.
Okay.
I do miss Bonbon. Bonbon Boba.
I know, I miss Bonbon.
I love it. I love matcha, so
nice.
thank you both. I love
Yeah.
it.
You're welcome.
Today I got horchata with coffee, so it's like a cool, little.
You're gonna be up all night, dude.
No, I won't.
No?
No, actually. Well, I stay up pretty late anyways, but I do not need coffee to stay up
Really?
at all.
Yeah, I do.
So, yeah, coffee
One
doesn't
of
have an
those.
effect on me.
I'm addicted. I'm like many Americans addicted to coffee.
No, well, you know what? I love coffee so much more for the flavor. I think the reason why it just never gave me that normal boost is I've always been drinking, I think ever since I was small, I was drinking coffee. Not in
Whoa.
large amounts, but my grandma would go over to her house, a little cafecito.
Here you go,
with
kids.
Some
Yeah.
concha.
Oh, that's cute,
Just-
though.
So fun fact.
Yeah.
I don't drink coffee. I've never liked it.
Really?
It's crazy because when I tell people, they're always like, "Oh, try this, try that." But that's why I got into matcha, just so I can be able to get that caffeine in a very healthy way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so that's why I asked for this flavor, and I loved it. So thank you both so much.
Absolutely. Same
Yeah.
with chai.
You
Yeah,
know
it was
what?
great.
Yeah, tea does have natural caffeine in it, which is
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
The sad thing is both coffee and tea damage your teeth the same amount. I know. So sad.
I didn't hear it.
So sad.
That I didn't hear that.
You know, you
I don't know what you just said.
Fact check me. Okay, anyway. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Why don't you just tell us what got you into politics in the first place?
So I have a very interesting backstory because even though I'm the president of San Diego Young Republicans and also I'm on the board for California Young Republican Federation, I manage their communications. I'm actually not a lifelong Republican, but I think that always makes the most interesting stories, especially and in my opinion too, I think, if anything, it helps you to relate to people that aren't into politics because you're coming from different angles. You understand what it's like, seeing it from both sides, which I think is really critical as someone that aspires to bring more people into the Republican Party. I think that's, really critical to not only my story, but I think also for the conservative movement.
And you sympathize with the moderates?
Yeah, absolutely. Because for me, what caught the bug was I was a college student at the University of California, San Diego, so UCSD, and I was a student during the Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump campaign.
Yes.
So it was
Iconic.
I did not realize that I was witnessing history at that time.
No.
But it was the craziest thing because I didn't grow up talking about politics. It was kind of one of those taboo topics at the dinner table, one of those things. A lot of my friends also growing up wasn't really a discussed topic. So, but I think by nature and without realizing it, I was part of associate student body. I was class president in high school. So I was political and into government without realizing it.
Yeah.
But when I was in college, it was crazy because during that election, like, having colleagues, acquaintances, and friends that you did not know anything about their politics, right? Because it's not something we talk about normally, right?
Yeah.
And then seeing that election take place and witnessing like their personality and how much
It hit the mainstream.
No, it really did. Like all these people that weren't into politics before, all of a sudden they're becoming like these overnight like political like experts. It was just the wildest thing. And you know, just seeing like the vitriol.
Everybody had an opinion, right?
Exactly. And the unfortunate part is like if you are someone that's conservative or Republican, you get really ostracized on the college campus. At least that's how it was back then. I actually have a lot of hope now in contrast back then in 2016, but it was really, really crazy.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like what sparked it for me because by no choice at all, I was forced to like look into all this because of my surroundings.
Now, did you like Hillary or Trump better back then?
I preferred Trump back then.
Really? Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. And a lot of it in part too was because I don't know if it's just because like I'm the type of person where I like to march to the beat of my own drum.
Yeah.
But that being said, though, like as I said, I'm not like lifelong Republican. I definitely saw different flaws with both the Democrat and Republican Party. So I was more libertarian or like center right. And then as time went on, came independent and registered Republican eventually. But back then, like if you made me choose, I preferred Trump. And I think if anything, too, was really crazy to me, too, because...
Well, what did you like about 2016 Trump?
I liked Trump for a lot of different reasons. So one being is like I am a Christian and a conservative. So even though like I didn't quite correlate my values with how I voted or like the Republican Party at the time because I just didn't connect the dots back then, naturally, like if you're someone that holds your faith and also like how you view the world in a certain way, naturally like you kind of gravitate towards different things of the party, like the policies they promote. So naturally, like, as a Christian and conservative, like the Republican Party aligns like in the essence of like how the government stewards funding, how they are for lower taxes, promoting like traditional family values and whatnot. But what I thought was most interesting about Trump and why I think it's really crazy how the modern Democrat Party tries to paint him right now is they've tried to illustrate him as this kind of extremist, right? But it's really crazy because when you even analyze 2016 Trump to even still to this day now, in a lot of ways, like Trump is actually like a very, very modern day Republican in the essence where he even, disappoints those that are really socially conservative. So I think that's even like very interesting in itself. And that's one thing why I always like to appeal to those in the middle, but even those on the Republican side that see issues with Trump back in 2016 and 2020 and even 2024 is basically, no matter what, like you're not going to agree with anyone in politics at all running for office on 100% on everything. True. And but I think if you can agree on most of what they want to bring to fruition, I think that should be something that you consider. And I think that's one problem that exists in the Republican Party is this purity test that they propagate not only for regular everyday Americans, but even like for those that are running for office. And as someone that works in politics and analyzes and eats and breathes this, I think that's a huge mishap and mistake that we're making in politics.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Now, another question I have for you is probably, well, you know what, I've seen some people, discussing, not much of a debate, but usually one-sided, where I see some people talking to Trump supporters who are women, asking why would they ever support Trump? He's racist, sexist. Like, why would you even support him? He wants to take away your rights as a woman. What's your response to that?
So it definitely depends on, the woman, the type of woman and where they're coming from in life. I will say just me as an individual, as a Christian, conservative, and a Republican, I'm very pro-life. But that being said, like, even when you talk to everyday Americans about this issue, the Republican Party as it stands, like when you talk to Republicans in general, there's a lot of Republicans that actually hold different positions on this issue. And so that's why I think it's very fascinating. And so the first thing, if a woman spoke to me about that, I'd like to know where they come from. Like, because in my opinion, if you're in California, which is where we're here now, unless you grew up in a household where you talked about the abortion issue like at a full extent, most people are extremely uneducated about it. I certainly was. I went to public school, and so one, it was really a non-issue, or very few about it. So a lot of people, without really knowing about like the data, the science, like, oh, like this is when life begins, or all the scientific data that a lot of people use to propel their argument, without people even knowing all that, I feel like they might hold a libertarian position by nature, where they're like, oh, like, like morally, like they don't agree with it, but they might believe in like these exceptions or whatnot. Yeah. So I think that's really interesting. So that's what I would say to a woman who feels that. I would love to apply empathy and know where they're coming from, because, unless they have a background where they're extremely educated on, reproductive rights, abortion, or whatever terminology that they know, they probably, first off, aren't very educated on the issue. So I would just start there. The second thing is, from a conservative standpoint, and I think that the Republican Party has gotten better, but I think there's always room for improvement. I think the argument it should come from different things. One, there's, the data, the science, and whatnot, and I found that does win people over. The second is the emotional appeal also, with recognizing that it is a human life. And then the third thing is knowing that there is support out there. And I think women don't realize like the resources that are out there that are available. And, at the end of the day, realizing that like even in the most extreme circumstances, like
there's hundreds of organizations that help you.
Absolutely. There's resources and support to provide for women that choose life. And irregardless of the circumstances of how it was conceived, even if they're really, really, upsetting and just really sad, I still maintain that the dignity of human life is important. And irregardless of how it was conceived, the value of the human life and that baby is still important.
Absolutely.
And I think, and I honestly genuinely believe, again, like, irregardless of the lack of education and knowledge they have, I feel like women innately know, like, instinctively, like, the significance of it. But they just feel hopeless. They just feel lost, and they don't know. Yeah,
they want to not see it, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I keep seeing these reels on Instagram of just, like, oh, look at Trump. He's completely going against women's rights. What's your response to that? Where it's, a lot of Democrats specifically targeting Republicans, saying that they don't care about women's rights and stuff.
I would say, first off, it's not true, and I would counter with it by expressing that. With that Supreme Court, so they're referring to the Supreme Court case where essentially the Dobbs decision, and what that does is that it brings that decision for the discussion of what abortion is, and that regulates it and brings it back from a federal discussion more to the state level. And so that being said, we're in California. I think a California voter would feel, differently about the topic of abortion just by majority versus, voters that in red states or whatnot. Right. And so Trump actually, in my opinion, has taken a step and long-term vision in this essence, because he did point those Supreme Court justices that lean conservative, and he thought the long-term vision. But I actually argue Trump brought the temperature down for this topic that is extremely polarizing and, very, very touchy to discuss. And because of those elements of what he was able to bring on the federal side. And so I would argue and dispel that no, Trump is not taking away your rights. He actually, brought the temperature down for this topic, made the decisions to which the Supreme Court was able to make that decision where it went from a federal to more of a state level. And then it becomes a discussion about where you live in the state and what the voters are. In California, Prop 1 passed, in 2022. And so that decision was made. And then, there's other states that have made their decisions about that. And so it becomes a discussion of now we discuss it more on a local level. And that's why I advocate more for nonprofit organizations, both on the political side, but even on the humanitarian side that support women, that choose life and whatnot, and educate them about that. And so...
Yeah. You know who else kind of had a viewership like that is like Thomas Jefferson, because he really believed on everything at a local level. And so it's almost like Trump is like going kind of back to Thomas Jefferson's value system. But
yeah. Oh.
You
No, I agree with you too, and I know we're talking a lot about like federal stuff, which is important, and I love talking about like the presidential race because it's so exciting.
Yeah.
But you touch upon how local government and governing in that sense is important. Like we are here in California, we're based here in Los Angeles, and even though like I'm very politically active in Orange County and San Diego, knowing most importantly not only top politic is important, but who's running for Congress, who's running for the state assembly, state senate, who's your county board of supervisor, school board, your city council member, mayor, like all of that is way more important than something that young Republicans that we advocate for and being able to support that. Yeah,
actually, that's something that I was talking about. So right after RFK's speech, after he had finally said that he is no longer running, that I actually got on to do a live stream on 180.
Thank you for doing that, by the way.
No, it's good. No, so on our Instagram, I did a live stream and I was talking to people because I was reading a bunch of the comments from people's reactions, and some people were saying, "Well, I'm not going to vote anymore." The thing is that people forget to realize that there's not only president, but you've also got so many local offices that we need to fill. And you know what? If you don't want to vote for a president, you're not obligated to vote for something there.
Honestly, like the federal...
You really don't need to. And it's like, there are so many important things locally. And you know what? The local stuff is what impacts you quicker than federally, right?
Yeah.
Because you've got those like quick impact things, right? So I'm just like, you guys need to realize that it's not only just the president, but you've got a lot of other offices like you were just mentioning.
No, and you touch on a very good point too. If you take the time to educate yourself about electoral history and political campaigns, it's really astounding like how much of a difference one family or a few individuals can make. I could tell you that in San Diego County, for one of the local mayors, for one of his past runs that he did for city council, like way back in the day, he won his election by 2 votes.
Wow.
2 people made a difference, and that made him that made them a winner or loser. And there are countless of examples of such a case. And so I definitely like my prayers for people, like regardless of the bananas that's going on the national stage, please still vote, but most importantly advocate and vote like down the ballot for these local races, especially if you are someone that's a conservative and Republican. I can't tell you like what difference one vote can make to getting a Republican across the finish line in November.
Yeah, and kind of talking about like, we were mentioning Kennedy. What did you guys think about his speech?
I loved it, and I think for one, it just shows like how much of a disaster the country has been under President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. The fact that, we were discussing this offline, but it takes a lot in you, like as someone that has been behind the scenes of helping candidates run for office. It's not easy, not only on the staffers, but also on the candidates. And so to withdraw and suspend a campaign is a very, very big deal. It's very humbling. To be able to put others before yourself, but especially if you have put your entire life on hold for months. And if you're running for a presidential office, years.
Seriously.
It's a marathon. And so I appreciated that he not only did that, put his ego aside and did what was best for the country and just figuring out the next pathway for him. And I think it's also very encouraging, even though he's like registered independent, there's a lot of people that identify as that. I still kind of consider him a Democrat. So I think that's just very exciting, and I appreciate his speech, and I'm looking forward to seeing all the other people that's hopping on the Trump train.
Yeah.
You know, another thing that was interesting also, his speech was great, but I honestly thought that Trump was going to put him under like something that had to do with the border, you know, because he knew so much about the border, like, you know, and but he is going to be doing stuff on chronic health.
Yeah, I think he was very knowledgeable about a lot of things, right? But
chronic disease,
but really what, you know, I think touched his heart a lot was right, chronic disease, but also mental health. He did mention that, you know, Gen Zers were suffering with so much mental health issues, right?
Yeah.
And in 2 years, he promised to bring down chronic disease, right? And in 4 years, he promised to make America healthy again, right?
Yes.
That's his little thing, right? Yes, I know. And I found that so, that's a big promise, but I think that, you know, if he really sticks to what he says he would, I think that's going to be wonderful because our health has declined so much compared to other countries.
And mental health.
Not only like our health there, but mental health is such a big thing. If we look at the stuff that's approved here for us to eat in like compared to the UK, you are seeing such big differences, right, in our food. Even fast food places, you notice the sizes are different because they're almost purposely poisoning us, right? But he was mentioning that the same people who work on these boards to approve our food, right, to tell us, you know, what we should be eating on the health pyramid, right, the food pyramid, are the same people who were working in those big corporations that are manufacturing our food. So it's crazy because these people they can't correctly and fairly say things because their opinion's compromised. So it's crazy. But you know, along with that, Tulsi Gabbard was also just mentioned that she is now supporting Trump as well, which is a very big thing. Isn't it
funny how diverse Trump's team actually is? I mean, I know that, you know, Kamala, her whole thing is diversity, right? But Trump is like, it seems like not even on purpose. It's just a coincidence that he happens to have this like really, you know, diverse adventure team Avenger team, you could say. All right. It is an adventure. No, but Avenger team, you know, like you guys have seen it.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. The movies.
The memes.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. That's a really another exciting endorsement as well. Yes, on paper she's independent, but let's be honest, like she holds a lot of Democrat ideals, more so than conservative. And I think that's also just shows like how radical the modern day Democrat Party is. Again, clarifying, we're not saying that people who vote Democrat are bad people, but it's more of like the platform and the party and the policies that the modern Democrat Party is propagating. The fact that there are so many key figures that were once well known in the Democrat Party, they're abandoning. Well, I shouldn't say they abandoned. The Democrat Party abandoned them, and they're politically homeless essentially. But I think that also spells a huge area of opportunity not only for the Trump campaign but also for the Republican Party. The fact that there's definitely some solemn, you know, disagreements on things, but the fact that there's more to agree on spells such, you know, huge opportunity.
Yeah. It's insane how many, you know, I'm looking again, I just looked to the comments because that tells us where our people are. I mean, social media is such a great way to see where people are and what they're thinking about things. And so many people were talking about how unifying this really is, you know, compared to what people are like saying in the news, like how polarizing he is. He really is unifying a lot of different people. And there's people in the comments who are saying, I'm a Democrat, but I'm going to be voting for Trump for the first time, right? Because compared to Kamala, they really don't want to have to vote for her. And up until recently, Kamala wasn't a very liked person. She was being made fun of just a few, you know, couple months ago, right? Weren't we talking about all the reels that were popping up about, just everybody making fun of her, and all of a sudden she's now, being, just put on the front of the stage because now she's a candidate. It's crazy.
And I will say too, piggybacking off of that, the fact that she wasn't like the top of the ticket or the people really, really wanted. They're forced by association and affiliation to support her. And she wasn't even like, they had to like make it official on paper at the Democrat National Convention.
Right.
But what I thought was even more crazy was how the modern Democrat Party, they preach democracy, right? Like our democracy is at stake. They essentially like crowned like their presumed Democrat nominee based off of like the keymakers of the Democrat Party, like the Obamas, the Clintons, and all these other really key figures in the party before the delegates even had the say to make it official. And that's what's really, really crazy about it. So yes, she's not only extremely unlikable, but the fact of the matter was she was crowned before the supposed delegates of the party even had a say. Just kind of shows like how little the Democrat Party cares about democracy. Truly.
Well, what's very interesting too is I also saw that Gavin Newsom even said something against her recently.
Really?
Yeah, he did, which kind of tells me that he kind of really did want that presidency spot. He's kind of eyeing it right there.
Yeah. What did he say?
Well, I don't have the exact quote with me, but he was saying something against her, and it was like,
he's salty.
Yeah, he is a little salty.
He's a salt bag.
Right. Yep. No, but kind of talking about governors. I was kind of mentioning to you guys a little earlier that the Texas governor, Greg Abbott, I think is his last name, right? Well, he said that he recently found and discovered and sort of dispelled or took away 1 million ineligible voters who have now been officially removed from the state voter rolls, which is so interesting because why were they there in the first place?
Right, the border?
No, like, hold on, did we get a comment? Because I didn't see. Can you guys shoot me the comment? Because I didn't see it. I'm sorry. We're getting some feedback over here. I wasn't looking either. I'm sorry. But yeah, so that's crazy to see how 1 million, right? That's a pretty big amount of voters that could completely change an election, as we all know. I mean, we've seen it before. If one or two can do a lot, imagine 1 million. But the fact that he was able to find and remove that many from the rolls is crazy. Yeah. That also, kind of goes down a conspiracy lane of what people were talking about last.
I love conspiracy lane.
I mean, I know. I love it too, but I love you, YouTube.
It's facts. Oh, yeah, YouTube, yeah. No.
Yeah, because the last election, we all know what happened there.
Yeah, but we have they finally agreed to a debate. Yeah. So that should be interesting. You should tune into that. We should just watch it live,
Well, you know what? Oh, no, we can't do that. What time is the debate? I guess we'll talk about this later.
Yeah. My goodness.
Well, Tulsi jumped on the Trump train very, very promptly because she did. Because she can coach Trump against Kamala now.
Yeah, that's true. Good. Because she did amazing with debating Kamala. I love, Tulsi is such a cool person. I didn't, she's a lot more introverted when you get to meet her. Yeah. But I'm more introverted that way too, so I understand that. But yeah, she's a really cool person.
Too, and yet I'm in the public eye.
You know what? Me and you both. But you know what? I think she's just an amazing debater with that, and you know what? I'm excited to see that. I'm also excited to see who else
there's
pops
someone
up.
Else.
Right?
I bet you it's Bill Maher.
You think it's Bill Maher?
I bet it is.
I'm also hoping Russell Brand jumps on because I love, I've been watching Russell Brand. He's on my For You page all the time. And I know he endorsed, RFK Jr. when he was running.
Yeah.
So he has been posting, a lot of Trump and Kennedy pictures together on his social. So I'm just okay, is he gonna,
It's so interesting. Politics in 2024 is so interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Russell Brand.
I know, but he's been a really cool guy. If you saw, he just recently got baptized not too long ago. So
praise God.
Yes, exactly. And he's been doing a lot of interesting videos that are just really, really, really cool.
He did a whole thing on the vaccine. He was like going on like mainstream media and confronting the COVID-19 vaccine. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, I said the word. We're gonna get flagged. We're gonna get flagged.
I think it's safe to say that like every other election cycle after this is just going to be extremely boring.
I know. You know what?
For better or for worse, I don't know.
People need to calm down. It's been crazy.
I know, it has been insane. Like being into politics, you're like, what's happening?
Yeah,
this is happening.
The world's about to end. You have like 5 different people telling you why. And they're all different reasons.
But you know what? Also, I mean, we're looking at our lives, and we're seeing so many historical things happening before us, and it's like
that's what the Democrats are saying. They're like, oh, this is the first Black woman nominee, yada yada. You know.
Oh well, you know what?
They're saying that.
Well, there's some people who are there's some people who are actually saying that they might have Biden step down right now so she can get a little bit
be president
of a head start, so she can get a head start.
I'm surprised they don't just like assassinate him. You know. Well, I don't know why I put that in quotes. I meant to say. Well, he mysteriously disappears.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Talking about disappearing though. He's been really absent because yesterday was the anniversary of the withdrawal from Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. You remember that?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like forever ago in the political realm, but that did happen. Yeah. And that happened and Biden and Kamala were not acknowledging that at all. We did see Trump though at their graves, and there was a memorial there.
That's good.
Did
Biden go?
Laying the no.
We haven't seen Biden. Where's Biden been?
Exactly. That's what I was trying to bring up the point. He's been absent right now.
Yeah.
We don't see him.
It's like we don't even know where our own president is.
No, and he's been absent in this what's been happening with the this anniversary, and it's really sad because it was a lapse of leadership. There was no leadership in this at all. And we had several lives that were lost.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, it's no question without a doubt that this administration failed our military and their families that day. And accountability needs to happen.
Mm-hmm. And if I'm not mistaken, there was an, I think, what was it? Somebody working for a government, I forget who, for one of the agencies, 3-letter agencies. I love them. But she was talking about how we do pay stipends to Taliban family members who have had people, Taliban men who have died. Because of that, we've paid them stipends to help them with life because we're so generous. Yeah. Our taxpayer money going to the Taliban, which is amazing. But that's honestly...
No, it's not.
I know. No, I was sarcasm. It was sarcasm, guys. But it's honestly appalling to see that we're doing this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I'm lost for words sometimes when I look at politics, because it's like... You don't believe that they would do this, and then they do, and they go lower each time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's always that stuff in politics.
Definitely.
But another thing I was looking at was State Senate did approve AB 1840, is it? And I know you were following this as well, right? Where undocumented immigrants are going to be able to get taxpayer-funded money for a down payment of a house. So it's a new first-time home buyer program. So
wish I was an illegal immigrant.
We all were thinking it, but you said it.
Right? You just renounce your citizenship, you go over to the border, then you just come back.
Yeah. And
simple enough.
Yeah, and to also add to the insanity too of what's happening at our state capitol. I know earlier this year also, the governor also signed into law a similar bill, but for healthcare, providing healthcare for illegal immigrants over like American taxpayers. And, my whole thing is I believe in the pursuit of the American dream, support legal immigration. But these kind of policies are just incredibly unproductive because it just kind of because in my view, like, what's the point in working hard to become a citizen if like other people can get these kind of benefits without having to have that citizenship? So that's the first thing. Second thing is the fact that there's hardworking, tax-paying, legal Americans that, and that's kind of like one topic young Republicans, I think young people from both parties, talk about all the time. The fact that it takes a lot longer to buy, like the possibility of you wanting to buy your first home just seems like a pipe dream now.
Yes.
Like,
yep.
And I know that a lot of conservatives talk about like, I don't remember, but it's like that phrase that people say, like, oh, like pull you up from your bootstrap. Like basically, if you work hard, you can make it happen, right?
Right.
Well, the reality is the economy and just the cost of living and just how things are nowadays, it's just very different than how it was from our parents and our grandparents. Like they had that ability to work multiple jobs, be able to save up in a certain time frame, like a very realistic time frame, and be able to buy their first home like in their 20s and early 30s. And now like it genuinely like it's no matter how hard you work, it really just seems like it's impossible. And that's why you see a lot of young people living at home more often or moving back in after college because of just how expensive it is, but especially here in California. So these laws that the governor is signing into law, it just is incredibly unfair to the hardworking average American.
That's so true.
It's like you're sinking.
It is. And you know what? It's so sad because, I would love to own a home, right? But we're now looking at, having to move away from our cities that we love, right? You know, because I love Los Angeles, but it's like, can you really afford a house here, have a family, raise a family here and be able to have, money to live, just plain live. And it's like, no, you really can't. Unless you're like a really nice, well-to-do off person.
Income, right?
Right. No,
you have the income that,
You know what? You have a really nice paying job. You can do that. But, the prices of just living in general have gone up, right? And we're seeing all the support go to illegal immigrants. And you know what? I have no... I love immigrants so much because they've built this country. It's been immigrants who have come together and built this country, right? Like
Hamilton was an immigrant.
Right? I love Hamilton so much.
Yes.
It's amazing. Not only like the musical, but Hamilton as a person.
Yeah.
It's really good. But like, I have so many family members who are immigrants, right? As being a Latina, my family comes from Mexico, right? And so they came over. And so it's like... It's a lie that, people are told that conservatives hate immigrants. When in reality, no, we just want to be able to take care of ourselves, because how can you take care of other people when you yourselves are literally drowning, right? We have so many veterans who are on the streets who aren't getting any help at all. And they're the ones who have given their lives to this country. And how are we repaying them, right? So it's like, how are we able to help other people when we're just not doing it ourselves? And that's just like my little rant. I'm sorry.
No, I think we both agree with you. Yeah. So when are you running for office? I'll vote for you. Donate to you. Yeah.
Vote for you.
No, I agree with you, and I think the military component hits home for me also. I just think we could do a much better job. Especially like following like that the failed Afghanistan withdrawal. It just shows like how poorly like the administration has been treating our military. And I think about like even like when you look at like the past photos like from the Trump days, like how like you could just tell, you can't like hide when people are genuine. You could just tell how much Trump like loved like the military and like our veterans and whatnot. And even like when he went to everything yesterday, like in Arlington, Virginia, like just seeing like how he genuinely just felt so upset with what had happened a few years ago and how much he cares about it. Yeah.
And I think it's like the same sort of love and respect that most presidents have had in the past, right, for our military. I mean, an example is like President Reagan. He loved the military so much, and there was an instance where he, obviously the military member, when a president walks by, they'll salute him, right? And President Reagan was like, well, can I salute them back? Because it's kind of weird when I walk past them and I can't salute them. And the Secret Service member, or whoever he was talking to, I forget who, was like, well, I mean, you're the commander-in-chief. You can do whatever you want. So he would always salute them back. And I think that's just like a lovely little like thing that, presidents can do. I mean, you've seen the clips where Trump will go off and he'll get the something that they've lost, right? And
it's like
really
the genuineness is like beyond the political warfare.
Yeah.
Which anyway.
Yeah, well, you know what? Another thing we've often been talking about, I think, is the lawfare now that's been going on.
The lawfare's
right?
been going on for
You've heard of
long
lawfare right now
time.
too, right?
Oh yeah, and I think he got indicted again earlier
Right,
today. Yeah,
that's true.
That's true. He sneezed and then got indicted.
Yeah,
'cause he
yeah.
might have COVID. No, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, right? No. Anyway,
No.
So
No. Yeah, I get the time, but yeah, that's so true. He just got indicted again. Like,
ridiculous.
he can.
There was another type of warfare too. Is it? No, it's not coming. You would know.
There's all.
It's like there's lawfare, but there's also another.
I'm not sure, but you know what? There's a lot of stuff happening. Kennedy was talking about, I mean, if you saw his speech, he was talking about lawfare. It's not only Trump that's been getting a lot of, backlash from the Democrats when it comes to, like, legal stuff. Kennedy was, too.
Yeah.
He was facing a lot of stuff. And even now, I forget which state is now, even though Robert F. Kennedy actually, he asked to have his name removed from the ballot from one of the swing states, they are now have like legally refused him or something like that, saying, no, we had a vote today, so you can't remove your name. It just keeps on going. It's a spiral, guys. It just doesn't end.
Yeah, that's really sus.
But yeah, I think we're running out of time. I don't get how did this come out of...
Well,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, do you have any like last final thoughts or words that you'd like to share?
Sure. So as you can see, so much has been going on around the country, and my whole message is to get involved nowadays. I know back then, like, performing your civic duty and voting, was incredible, and it's a right and a privilege that we don't take for granted in the United States. It's a huge blessing. But that being said, with how crazy things are going on, it is not enough nowadays to just circle who you want to vote for on your ballot. It's just not enough. And so my message is to get activated and get civically engaged beyond voting. For young Republicans, if you're between the ages of 18 to 40, there's a home for you in Young Republicans. So for California Young Republicans, right now we have 13 chapters all across the state, all the way from NorCal to SoCal. The biggest chapters are in LA, Orange County, and San Diego. And so definitely just get plugged into your Young Republican chapter. And even if you are in the middle or politically homeless, Young Republicans can be a great way for you to get activated in politics and just check out the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Amen.
That's amazing.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. I feel like, honestly, I could talk to you forever because I feel like we all bounced off of each other's ideas, which is amazing.
We had a good vibe. I'd love to do this again. And and like we already know there's gonna be so much happening until November, so we gotta talk shop more.
Yes, we do. I know.
No, absolutely.
The next
so true. Yeah.
watch tomorrow, some more news is gonna come out, and you're gonna be like,
Exactly. Yeah.
yes. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes. Thank you.
But yeah, thank you guys for definitely joining us. Did you have any like socials or things that people can get connected with you if they wanted to, or?
Yes, check out SanDiegoYoungRepublicans.org. San Diego Young Republicans is also on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and X, because it's not Twitter anymore, even though that's what I like to say.
I know.
If you want to follow me personally too, Cynthia Kaui, CYNTHIA, and then my last name, KAUI. I'm on all the socials as well.
Amazing.
Yeah,
thank you so
thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining us. And then I think we're recording our next thing. But yeah, we're doing some more episodes right after this, but filming never stops.
That's right.
Always good. But yeah, definitely check out all of our socials as well at 180 Shift and our website at 180shift.org. Thank you so much, guys. Whenever it's done.